All right, so these lines here, trunk tank in the back, that's the drain for the trunk line, or the trunk tank. So this line here comes back, wraps around, comes up through this way. So we'll start here first. This is the feed from the pump. Goes to here, comes up over in the fender well, and it is tucked inside this side area right here. You can see it. This runs all the way to the brick. Bricks up top, feeds the heat exchangers. This is the return. I could not tuck this inside there, but everything is mounted with nut zerts and everything else in. It runs back along the line, tucked in there, all the way back, wraps right around there, comes back in. So that's the trunk tank. New mag ride. That's your drain for your diff. That's your fill for the diff right there. It's been raining all day, so there's a lot of condensation inside my shop. I mean, raining like crazy. I actually got water inside here. So this is just sweat. 3-inch exhaust all the way back to the coarse mufflers. New band clamps. Gutted cats. I think this is the wideband. Yeah, that's the wideband O2 sensor. This is your drain for the catch can. Car's not running, open that up, let it drain, plug it back up. Crush washer, oil pan, recently changed. New filter, recently changed. Brand new lower control arm, Uppers are brand new. Motor mounts right there on that side, brand new. Hooks, headers, both sides. That's recently serviced, overfilled by 1 quart. I think that's about it down here. So I'll go on to the next one. Part 2. Brake ducts. Those come from the fog light housing. I don't have them in there, but I have the plumbing. Same thing for that side. I took them out. Splash shield right there. It's all in place. The splitter. Black Moon splitter has this custom CNC metal on the bottom of it. That's the inlet for your brake ducts. Right there and there. I've actually got this one partitioned off with ABS plastic, so it directs this air to the inbox. So that's part 2 of the undercarriage. Okay, let's talk engine. The 1-inch line that's tucked on the rail here comes up, feeds into the back of the brick. The coldest water from the trunk tank goes in the brick. Hot water comes out into here, feeds into the top of the heat exchanger, comes back out, routes to this heat exchanger, and then goes back to the tank. Air Raid new green filter. I cut this and put a piece of plexiglass just so I could keep an eye on the filter. Power steering's been flushed. Brake fluid's been flushed. Radiator's been flushed. I changed all this zinc hardware that you see on the coil packs. Every single bolt that I could change has been changed. Just wanted to put new hardware on it. Your plastic pieces, those pop right up. They're just to cover everything. Fuse box, relay for the I added that relay in there when I had the trunk tank pump on a switch. Now I got it wired into the ignition. Down here, if you look right, let me get this to zoom in. Those wires right there, the black, red, that's a plug for your flex fuel sensor. It's still down there. It's just zip tied off to the side. It is tapped into the main ECU. There's the Fuel Labs fuel filter. Goes into the main line. That's your heat exchanger line. Comes from the brick. Brand new Gates belt. Throttle body's been cleaned and all that. Mighty Mouse catch can back there. Your hood rain guard. There's little holes here that it would mount to, and is what it does. It catches the rain and pushes it here, and it comes out here. I don't fool with that, but it'll come with the car. that's about the engine. I'll do part 2. So new radiator hose, upper, lower. This is new. This had a tendency, it's moved out the way now, but when I first got it, it would rub on this. Anyways, this T has been replaced. Catch can is wired in, plumbed into those 2 lines right there. So those 2 hose clamps are your catch can. And I've got all that. I added these AN spacers all the way back there to the side. It's got heat shields on all the spark plug boots. Brand new spark plugs. Coil packs are good. Brand new. Yeah, the wires and the plugs, brand new. Yeah, so that's that the hood there. Real simple. Right here, apply pressure. I say real simple, but you get it. Just apply pressure right here. Everything sits down on it. All right, so the trunk tank. So right here is the controller. I don't mess with these settings. Right now, this controller, it's hard to see, but it's got a dial in there. It is set to the highest setting to run the pump at max duty cycle. If you want to cut it off, like as soon as the ignition comes on, that pump is running. So if you're doing any kind of tuning, you would rotate this dial to 0, and then when you're ready for the pump to cut back on, run it on 4. I just leave it on 4. Brand new AGM Duralast battery, so you don't have to worry about that. It's always on a battery tender. I'm gonna take my tender with me because I need to put it on my lawnmower. So anyways, to the trunk tank, completely hidden. That's the trunk tank. Wired in, fuse connection straight to the battery. There's the pump. There's the fill for the tank. This is the drain right here. I just keep this on here because it sweats a little bit, but it's all mounted down. Now, my area, well, let's just say this. So that's distilled water and water wetter. 1 can of water wetter, distilled water. For you freeze a lot. Wintertime, deck's cool 50-50. Wintertime, you can experiment, but only distilled water. You put tap water, you put bags of ice in here, it's gonna corrode your brick. So distilled water, always 100%. Pierberg for 100 pump. This pulls it, goes straight to the heat exchanger. So that's trunk tank. So zero is off. Quarter duty, half duty, full duty. 3 or 4. Anything after 4 is going to run this pump at 100%. So, but if I'm like going in there and doing stereo work and I need access to the, to have the key on and I don't want to, run the pump, just turn it off, turn it back on. That's it. As long as those lights are running, your pump's running. And you can actually hear it humming inside the vehicle. All right, so these buttons down here, even though that one lights up, I had the water pump for the trunk tank wired to it, but now it's wired to the ignition. That controls air fuel gauge. If you leave that on, it will drain your battery. Just letting you know. But I put it on a switch. So that's wired into that. This is the Aeroforce. Engine coolant IAT2s, which is your supercharger brick. Battery voltage, trans temp. You can monitor everything else from the dash. Oil pressure, trans temp. It's humid in here, so apologies. Battery voltage, tire pressure, all that good stuff. I always keep this on oil pressure. So, yeah. Paddle shifters. If you're in drive, well, I'll make another video about that. But, oh, also, navigation, up and down, back up. Steering controls work with this controller which is hardwired right there. And oh, suspension change, sport mode, touring mode. All right, so the transmission, you got drive, and then you've got sport. Automatically shifts it to sport mode. When you're in drive, you can paddle shift and put it into manual mode. It's gonna want the doors shut, but see if I go to sport. Now it's in first, second. It'll only let you go to third while you're not driving. So that's a whole nother video. I just keep it in drive. When you're in drive, I'll make another video about that while the car's not running. The air force comes on when the ignition comes on. Hit these two buttons. Like I said, man, this thing is finicky. That's why I really don't mess with it. So you can go through and change the graphs on it. I don't really deal with it too much. I just leave it on my one parameter. All right, so the aero force, I just cycled it off. When it comes back on, that's just a message. You click that and it'll roll through your graphs. I just leave it at this here. You can change the views on it. So if you hit two buttons, you can go into your cyclet menu. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can go through here and pull DTCs, misfires, record data logs, change the logo, clear DTCs. I keep it on scan. Tells me my IAT2s and my coolant. Some more pieces about the interior. This goes to the rear camera back there. This one goes to the front right here. All the wires are hidden right up in there. That's just pressed on there. That's your GPS. That's tucked all the way in. But this comes on with your ignition. Starts recording immediately. These seats here, there's a little extender for the back of them, but let's see if I can get some interior shots for you. They're in really good shape. The back seats also. Let me open that other door. It's fucking raining like hell here. Has been. Same storm you're getting. So, the seats, original Recaros. This closes there, cup holder there. There's actually accent lights under here from the factory. That's for your tires to take the wheels off. Back seats. HP tuners. Your back seats in great shape. You actually gain access to the trunk if you want to stick some 2x4s in here. This is the access hole that I was telling you about. That's the access hole for the fuel pump. So if you ever need to gain access, take that off. All right, so the transmission, 90% of the time, I put it in drive and drive. When it's in drive, you can paddle shift up and down, and it'll run through your gears, 1st through 6th. So say you're doing 40 miles an hour back road, it's going to want to stay in 6th. You can downshift, and say you want to downshift to 3rd. It will hold that gear, whatever RPM range you want to hold it at. So if you want to just like back roads, you want to hear the exhaust, you're running through, your gears, it'll stay in whatever pattern you put it in. But once the car senses that you're just like, cruising and not changing the gears, it'll automatically revert itself back out of manual paddle shift mode, if that makes any sense. Now, you put it in drive, shift over to sport. It is tuned to hold the shifts longer and downshift better in sport mode with the tune that Derek Dunbar put in here. Now, if you want a more firmer shifting sequence, I guess, drive over. And then you can always flip back. You can bring it back in and out. It's not going to hurt it.